So thank you for joining today's session. Today's session is looking at business recovery, how to transition your supply chain strategies in response to the global pandemic that's currently eventuating, called coronavirus or COVID-19. My name is Matthew Shield and I'll be your moderator for today. Joining me today is two speakers. First speaker is Matt Daniels, Managing Director of Sales, FedEx Express Australasia, and also Chantel Gage, our Senior Sales Manager. So Matt Daniels, he's our Managing Director of Sales here at FedEx Express Australasia. Matt has over 20 years of experience in the international transport and logistics industry. He spent time in the Middle East, US, and also Asia. He moved back to Australia in 2019 and he's currently our Managing Director of Sales Australasia. In his spare time, he's a passionate South Sydney Rabbitohs supporter. Joining Matt today is Chantel Gage, our Senior Sales Manager of FedEx Express Australasia. Chantel has over 15 years of experience in the international transport and logistics industry. In her current role, Chantel is focused on the small and medium-sized enterprise segments and also international segments. Chantel is an avid Newcastle Knights supporter. For today's 1 hour session, what you're seeing on the screen is the key areas of discussion. So firstly, we'll focus on the COVID-19 or coronavirus pandemic, so the impact this is having on the global and also the Australian economy. We'll then go through how this is changing consumer behaviour. We'll look at how this is disrupting the supply chain and the impact this is having on air cargo. Then we'll look at how to transition your supply chain, so how to really adapt in light of the current circumstances that are eventuating. And then we'll go through how to leverage digital technology and automation. So to commence, I'll hand over to Matt, who will take us through the next section.
Thanks, Matt. Well, listen, a very good morning to you all. And on behalf of FedEx TNT Australia, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to participate in this webinar, which has been specially designed to share particular insights and solutions with you. And we hope that these can be applied to your business and support your customers. Well, I guess we're all aware about the COVID-19 pandemic and how it's impacted the way businesses operate and even the way we live our lives. We've seen changes in consumer behaviour and demand, as well as the various government policies which have also been affected and how that impacts the landscape of the global supply chain. So we need to build a flexible business model to survive. And as such, today we'll be sharing with you some key insights which we hope will be beneficial for your business transition. So let me just remind you of some key insights there on slide 5. So as of the 20th of July, the World Health Organization reported that approximately 14 million people around the world have coronavirus. Now, I started preparing these slides a few weeks ago and the number was around 8 million. And closer to home in Australia, we've seen various measures to curb the virus outbreak and second wave, as we know, including social distancing, lockdown, travel and business restrictions. So if you look at slide 6 and the impact of this pandemic on the global economy, it is quite devastating. This year, the global economy is expected to shrink by 3%. This is far worse actually than the dip during the recession in 2009. In fact, the world economy is said to suffer the worst performance in 2020 since the Great Depression. The IMF advised that by the end of the year, the pandemic will lower the GDP of 170 countries, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's all countries. This is despite various countries' commitment to inject stimulus, and we've seen that here in Australia with some quite aggressive stimulus packages to try and stem the impact. So in slide 7, if we look at the COVID impact on Australia, our economy has fallen into recession, driven by the worst bushfire, drought, and now we have this pandemic. The Australian dollar has climbed against the US dollar and recently broken through the 70-cent barrier. This will place additional pressure on Australian-made goods being exported to global markets. And the unemployment rate in June 2020 also increased to 7.4%, which is the highest we've seen since October 2001. So if we look at what in slide 8, if we look at what this illustrates in terms of the pandemic on air cargo capacity, it's probably no surprise as you've been hearing the shortage of air cargo space everywhere. And based on the study by Seabury, the global air cargo capacity has declined by 26% and rising versus the same period last year. Intra-Asia is 25% lower than last year, and Asia westbound capacity is also 22% lower. And we also see an acute shortage between Europe and North America. In fact, we've also seen the way we've seen shipments routed. We've seen limitations from Europe into Asia and Australia. We've seen those shipments being routed via the US, and that's crazy. That's placed more pressure on the US to Australia lanes. So on the next slide, slide 9, this illustrates how quickly the belly space from passenger flights disappeared. If you look at the purple line, it's almost reduced by 73%. And yes, many freighters have been added since February, but it's not enough to fill the gap. And you can see this from the light blue line. Only about 1/3 of air freight moves in and out of Australia on freighter aircraft, 2/3 on commercial aircraft, which, as you can see, is severely impacted. This has placed an enormous strain on the air cargo capacity market. And the express freighter capacity, the line in grey, we've seen has increased slowly and steadily, but still not enough. So the FedEx Express freighter capacity is now the most sought after asset for many. FedEx has increased its daily international flight schedule, and now we are operating, we've gone from about 6 flights a week to 22 flights a week to cope with demand and protect our transit time. So actually we are now one of the largest international airlines operating in and out of Australia at the moment. If I look at slide 10, and we look at the consumer behaviour there, prior to COVID, 59% of consumers worldwide had high interaction with physical stores. Now only 24% expect to return to that level of interaction. And in the next 6 to 9 months, only 39% of consumers are expected to return. In contrast, 37% of consumers have now high interaction with online channels versus 30% before. So it's no surprise customers are moving online, and we've certainly seen that in our business as well. Excuse me. So after understanding what is going on with the world and Australia, we have to rethink and reconfigure our business models. And with our customers at the centre of our business processes, we need to consider evolving our supply chain to be resilient and agile. So in the next 3 slides, I'd like to share our general view of what you should consider for transitioning your supply chain. So on slide 12, with almost everything going on and everything going online and everything being urgent, the first disruption in supply chain is space and price. You now have to compete with all sorts of products that you could never imagine in the past, particularly PPE and other healthcare related products. Whilst designing your new supply chain, you will need to consider disruption that's caused by new local policies and regulations. So I'll give you a good example. Pilots that are flying in and out of particular countries can be quarantined or COVID tested. This places pressure on flight schedules and sometimes cancellations. And as passenger numbers become more restricted, less commercial flights operate. And we've seen this particularly if you take Sydney, which operates now at 450 passengers per day, same period last year, 450,000 passengers per day. So we're only operating at 1% versus pre-COVID levels. Consumer buying behaviour is also changing. If you do not have an online selling channel and your product is suited, it's time to think about setting one up. And if you do set one up, just keep in mind the following. More than 50% of consumers shopping online are outside your home country. So is your site set up to manage cross-border inquiries and sales? Do you have a way for customers to leave feedback? More than 1/3 of potential customers look for reviews prior to purchase. And with retail stores weakening and more end users buying directly, you will need to be able to process more orders at much smaller quantities more often, and often at the end of the day, particularly after 6 p.m. when people come home. And finally, are your shipments visible to your customers? Does your transportation partner have an effective way to provide track and trace? If the customer can't see it online, they'll call you, and that will create some additional stress on your business as well. So look, I just want to touch a little bit on B2B. You know, B2B is something we should spend some time on discussing. It's certainly more than twice the size of business to consumer at the moment, and it's still growing. Gone are the days when your customers will hold large inventories of stock and wait for their customers to buy. So with so many uncertainties, businesses will try and reduce their inventories and are now looking for suppliers and partners that can respond quickly to their orders, as well as provide full visibility of these. How we manage the decision-making process for our customers, business to business, is different. The average number of decision-making people involved or partners involved in a business-to-business decision is around 6.8 people compared to 1 person that we have in a B2C environment. So we need to make sure that we can provide that level of service right across that organisation. And if your customers are cutting buffer stocks, you need to consider if you should build up your own suppliers. So if you can rely on suppliers that are now struggling with their supply chain, you should also look at finding alternative sourcing, which sometimes is not easy, or you may build stocks to reduce the impact of material shortage. The normal supply chain model, as we know, calls generally for carrying lower stocks, and as stock involves capital expenditure, but you may need to balance that capital savings versus the potential loss of savings and sales. Another solution is to move your material by express mode. We're seeing this with more customers sending shipments direct to end destination. So a good example is the Trans-Tasman flight that we put on earlier this year, Australia to New Zealand. That flight is becoming more and more prevalent with shipments going direct to customers and bypassing DCs. Actually, at the moment, it's almost as easy to send a shipment Sydney to Auckland than it is to Sydney to Perth. So with COVID-19, we are also stepping into a low-touch economy. And I thought I would really sort of stress this point. I think it's a really good one. Contrary to the previous practice where companies were investing in more human interface to enhance the customer experience, customers now prefer low-touch transactions in the COVID environment. So the last mile delivery person may now be the only face-to-face touch point that your customers have from your business. So choose your last mile partners carefully. And the low-touch economy will impact your after-sales value chain. With less motivation to step into a service centre, customers, or rather you, will now need different forms of repair and return. And we must be ready to do direct retrieval from end users for any repairs and returns once done. So visibility of these return shipments, as I mentioned earlier, through track and trace is also very critical to provide a seamless after-sales service. A couple of tips there. So now I'll hand over to Chantel, who will go through the seamless logistics solutions for business recovery. So over to you, Chantel. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome valued participants. As we've just heard from statistics and our own personal experiences, we know that business environments today is very dynamic, and we expect this will continue for the foreseeable future. Given the impact on the supply chain, it makes it even more important to have a seamless end-to-end logistics solution partner to help with business recovery. As businesses are facing unprecedented and unpredictable challenges today, and therein lies brand new opportunities. We see businesses pivoting towards online platforms, and overall supply chain and logistics solutions have drastically adjusted to ride on this current wave of momentum. Now, speaking of logistics solutions, it is always our hope and in fact our expectation that whenever you send something We want the shipping experience to be streamlined, allowing you to have more control and visibility. We want it to be error-free as much as possible so that the shipment flows smoothly and does not get stuck or delayed. I believe we've all had our fair share of challenges when it comes to shipping packages, and those experiences stay with us. We remember the time when we could not seem to track our packages due to scans not being updated timely, the packages missing, or we've experienced delivery delays. Some could relate to documentation errors on the airway bill, for instance, the wrong value or no value declared at all, or there was an error on the commercial invoice resulting in higher duties and taxes. Now, when I say this, I'm sure it resonates with some of you. The impact of such disruption includes bad customer experience and anxiety on both ends for the shipper and recipient, and sometimes for the third party, where you could very well be the third party payer. And at times, it can even create financial impact, where there may be loss of existing business or worse, loss of business opportunities. I'm sure no one wants to have these experiences repeated, especially during such challenging times. Now let's look at how an end-to-end closed-loop seamless logistic model can help make all the difference. On the screen, you can see an example of a pickup done on day 0 and a delivery on day 1. From the point of pickup to the point of delivery, there are at least 7 more touch points in between. This highlights that there are more risks and high potential for something to go wrong. Hence, the accuracy of the information flow through our automated systems and electronic data capture is crucial, as it will enable the whole process to be accurate and smooth. It also allows customs clearance to be done in advance, which plays a major role in eliminating the risk of delays. Now, speaking of customs clearance, how then can we ensure a positive experience? First off, we need to ensure our documentation, specifically airway bills and commercial invoices, are accurate. While they are basic and frequently prepared, sometimes the information is not always accurate. The inaccuracy may result in possible delays to our shipments down the line. Some other additional documentation may be licenses and permits, depending on the requirements of the destination country. Apart from accurate documentation, licenses and permits, knowing what is prohibited is equally crucial. Some of the common prohibited items are day-to-day goods which seem totally harmless to us, such as perishable food items, e-cigarettes, and even cosmetics. Then there are controlled drugs, poultry products, and others. Now imagine sending or importing something prohibited without knowing that fact. There is likely to be many hours and a lot of effort spent to rectify the situation. Sometimes there can be even financial and legal implications which can be detrimental to our businesses. And we talked about the importance of preparing documentations accurately, knowing what permits and license are needed, as well as prohibited items. Things can be confusing to what is required for international shipments. Now with FedEx Global Trade Manager, or GTM in short, gives you access to estimate duties and taxes at destination countries. It also helps you find the necessary documentations for your international shipments, plus provides important regulatory information. When you utilize this very useful online tool, it enables great confidence in dealing with other markets. Now, how do we ensure that the information is transmitted to the destination for customs clearance? FedEx is what we call ETD, or electronic trade documents. That is a free feature available with your FedEx shipping tools, allowing you to submit all your customs documentation electronically. You no longer need to print multiple copies and even process when you create your airway bill. And everything is processed when you create your airway bill. As soon as you click ship with ETD, all the necessary information is uploaded in the FedEx system, which means the documentation is uploaded and available for check-in straight away at the destination. To have a high level of accuracy in your shipment information, immediately providing you a better sense of control. Now, apart from FedEx Global Trade Manager, and our electronic trade documents, you can also leverage from other digital technologies and automation tools. Now, I'll briefly touch on 4 automation tools and self-serve options available for your business. First is FedEx Ship Manager, or FSM. We talked earlier about how important accurate shipping documentation is. FedEx Ship Manager helps you streamline your international shipments, enabling you to prepare and track efficiently, check quotes, request for pickups online, and much more. Second, FedEx Delivery Manager International, or FDMI, is a global interactive delivery management solution. It notifies recipients of pending deliveries via email or SMS text message and allows them to proactively customize the final delivery. Now, as an example, you are the shipper and you're sending freight to your customer who will be away from their given address during that period of time. The normal delivery will see the package attempted to be delivered. The customer is not home to accept. It will then be brought back to the shipping carrier's warehouse as the delivery was not successful. Thereafter, once the recipient is home, they will need to contact the shipping carrier to arrange for delivery. However, with FDMI, you can proactively have your customers select the exact date and time they want their shipment delivered. Such advance notice will impress your customers, giving them positive customer experience, and as a result, enhance your company image. For e-commerce businesses sending to the US, for instance, FDMI may be an utmost perfect solution during the holiday seasons. Next is FedEx Tracking. This allows you to track your shipments via our website or on your mobile phone. You can track the way you want and go into details of all the shipments and even customize your own reporting. There is also a wide range of notification options to choose from. Now lastly, FedEx Billing Online, which enables you to download invoices in different formats such as PDF, CSV, and XML. You can manage several accounts under one single user ID. View your invoices, credit notes, and shipment details all online. If you need to query an invoice, you can do it all online as well for faster investigation and resolution in comparison to calling someone to report the query. Data is stored and can be accessed up to approximately 6 months after the invoice is paid. Now, all these tools give you more visibility and control. So with these logistic management tools, you benefit as it enables you to save time, reduce costs, and optimize your operations. These will make consistent, seamless logistics solutions a real possibility. This will support, expedite, and make the difference in propelling your business growth and recovery into the new norm. Now, we've come to the end of the presentation, and now I'll hand you back to Matt Daniels to go through some of the key learnings to prepare your business for transition.
Thanks, Chantel. So look, we're getting down to the interactive part of the webinar. So if you have any questions, please make sure that you forward them through so we can address them. But I just thought I would just summarise just some of the thoughts from the webinar itself. So it's no surprise that that we're in a new norm and that we need to think a little bit differently, a little bit outside the box. So have you redesigned your supply chain to allow more time in areas where you need it, like procurement, order fulfillment, transportation? In fact, transportation is often the shortest part of the supply chain, but one which creates the most stress in some cases. So have you been able to build in enough time to compensate for that? Customers are not as physically present as they used to be. Are you seeing this as an opportunity to differentiate yourself against your competitors? Sometimes physical interaction with your partners, suppliers, or customers could just be a pickup or delivery experience in the supply chain. And as I mentioned, if that's the only interaction they have, then it better be the right one for you. Do you have the right B2C platform? Does it align with your business? Does it align with your returns and changes to your customer profiles? And are you using automation? So Chantel just went through some of the tools available. Are you using these tools to support your business, especially over this period? So tools such as the Electronic Trade Document, Global Trade Manager, and our own SAM, Small and Medium Portal, all have a lot of resources that will allow you to manage your business more effectively. So partnering with FedEx and using our automation and digital technology, we think you're on the way to optimizing your supply chain performance. So back to you, Matt.
As Matt was mentioning, here's some resources that are available to support you on your journey. So the Small Business Centre is what you can see there on the screen, the first link. This resource really provides you with some key information and key tips to help you adapt and also transition in light of the current circumstances that are eventuating due to the coronavirus. Also, you can see we've got some links to FedEx Ship Manager and also FedEx Electronic Trade Documents. These are really handy automation tools to help you save time and also money, and also get closer to your customers, unlocking efficiencies within your supply chain through automation tools and solutions. So some really good links there available also. Another must read is a resource from Deloitte talking about orchestrating the recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. So a really good resource that Deloitte has put together, and some good thought leadership material that you can view in your own time to access some additional insights. Also, if you haven't already, please sign up for our e-news to access the latest updates and also offers from FedEx. So the link is being presented on the screen, so please sign up for e-news. A copy of this presentation will also be shared at the end of this session.
So thank you very much to our customers who've taken the time to attend. We know that you have other choices out there, and we appreciate the fact that you've chosen T&T FedEx. If you'd like to learn more about what we can do for you, with obviously no commitment, then please let us know, and we'd be pleased to sit down and work through a solution for you. And as I mentioned before, it gives you an opportunity to compare how we stack up against your current provider if you don't give us all your business, which I hope one day you will. So Matt, back to you. And again, thanks very much to our customers for their their interest and loyalty. Thank you.
So thank you for joining us for today's session, which is focused on business recovery, how to transition your supply chain strategies in response to the coronavirus, COVID-19. We hope that you found this session useful, and we are at time. So if there's any questions that we weren't able to answer, we'll endeavour to provide you with a response after this session. And we'll also share the presentation slides to those that have indicated that they'd like to receive these, alongside a recording of this webinar. So again, from behalf of the team at FedEx Express and also T&T, thank you very much for joining our session, and thank you Chantel and Matt for being great panelists to work with on this session. Have a great rest of the day, everybody, and thank you.